This story is about Lin Hao. One day, a crack appeared in space and a colossal monster emerged from it. The monster began to wreak havoc and destruction wherever it went, and unfortunately, Lin Hao met a tragic fate as a result. When he opened his eyes again, he unexpectedly became a koi fish. He awakened the dragon cultivation system, which promised him a chance to become a true dragon. By following the system's prompts, he will devour his prey and continue to evolve, fight the mutant behemoth, and one day evolve into a divine dragon. Our story begins in the ancient city of Lintian. It was a relatively normal day when a crack appeared in the sky. By the time our protagonist, Lin Hao, had noticed, a colossal monster appeared from the crack, wreaking havoc and destruction. Everything was engulfed in fire, and people were running in panic. It was a horrible sight, and he was witnessing it firsthand. While facing the monster, he received a call from his girlfriend, Xiao Shui. Determined not to die in this place, he thought about his girlfriend coming to see him after 3 years. Suddenly, a massive blast occurred, engulfing Lin Hao. At the last moment of his life, while raising his hand in the sky, he regretted not being able to see her again. His hand dropped in the pond, and his spirit came out of it. In the past, many strange alien-like creatures appeared on Earth, but people dismissed their occurrence as rumors. In 1934, the corpse of a giant dragon fell from the sky, and the next day, it vanished without a trace. In 1994, a giant crab monster appeared and caused 15 casualties. In 2020, there was also a sight of a giant monster in the ocean, while a crimson moon hung in the sky. But all of it vanished without a trace. As for the casualties, those have been attributed to accidents. Some people beside a pond were talking about Lintian City being annihilated in a single night, but the footage from drones showed nothing but ashes. Inside the pond, someone was complaining about the noise. When it opened its eyes, it saw fins, confused for a moment. It's realized that he has turned into a fish. He was our protagonist, Lin Hao. After dying, he turned into a tiny little carp. Confused about his death and the giant monster that appeared, his thoughts turned to Xiao Shui, his girlfriend, and he wanted to go out and have a look. But there were too many limitations to his new form. Suddenly, something appeared behind him. It was a group of monster crabs. They chased after him. Something appeared in front of him. A monstrous fish appeared, munching on the crabs. After that, another giant mutant fish appeared, devouring the monster fish. Lin Hao hid inside a bucket, terrified of the scene. He deemed it impossible to go out when he was just having trouble staying alive. Suddenly, the invincible leveling system activated, and a beautiful mermaid appeared. Lin Hao asked her what she was. She suddenly took his fin and brought him out of the deep ocean. They both appeared inside the shallow water. Lin Hao asked her who she was. She introduced herself as his system. She displayed all his stat in a status window. Lin Hao inquired about how he could raise his level, and she told him by eating. Lin Hao devoured a breadcrumb and received 0.1 evolution points. He concluded that he just needed to eat in order to evolve. After being dumbfounded about this simple method, he just accepted his new reality and started eating any breadcrumb he found. After some time, he was full from eating a lot of breadcrumbs. He gained a total of 5 evolution points. Being dissatisfied with the small amount of points, he complained about whether it was appropriate. His complaints didn't last long when he spotted another batch of crumbs coming. He hurriedly ate all the crumbs and got 0.5 evolution points. Surprised about the increased evolution points, he got curious about who would be feeding fish this late. Outside, a black-haired woman was standing beside the fish pond. She was Xiao Shui, Lin Hao's girlfriend. She was watching the picture of them together in a pocket watch and lamenting them being so close to seeing each other. She said Lin Hao's name while crying and wanted to know why he did not wait for her to return. Lin Hao in the pond misperceived her words and thought that she must be talking about her husband who has passed away. Suddenly, the pocket watch she was holding dropped into the water, tears running down her cheek as she thought about her bad luck. Someone came suddenly, addressing her as Captain Luo, and stated that they were leaving. She wiped her tears and confirmed the statement. She left, determined to find Lin Hao. Lin Hao in the pond saw the pocket watch and was surprised that Xiao Shui had come here. He started to swim toward the surface while asking her not to do anything reckless. When he reached the surface, he tried to call out to her, but started crying because he couldn't speak because he had become a fish. He remembered the pocket watch, which was a special keepsake that had been dropped in the deep water. He wanted to get it back no matter what, but he was too weak at the moment. He became sad about always narrowly missing each other. He wiped his tears and asked to wait for him. Lin Hao started to devour all the small fish and shrimp he could find, gathering points for his evolution. The mermaid, which was the system, was curious because most of the hosts mope around for a few days, but he had never seen such an eager fish. A system message appeared announcing the condition for evolution to be fulfilled. It asked if he would evolve now. Lin Hao pandered about what his evolution would lead to. He pressed yes, and he started to evolve. The mermaid answered that there was no limit to his evolution. Sometime later, after the evolution, Lin Hao opened his eyes. The mermaid was staring closely at him. This surprised Lin Hao. The mermaid wondered why it had taken so long for him to evolve. Lin Hao, after evolving, changed a bit. He felt like his body had grown and his scale had become tougher. A window appeared displaying his stats. He had become level 3 and acquired 2 new skills, Mighty Tail Swipe and Steel Scale Armor. The mermaid informed him that his scale would become as hard as steel for 3 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. He spotted a few creatures in the distance eating a dead fish. He quickly rushed over while using his skill, Mighty Tail Swipe, and knocked down the other monster fishes. A giant monster fish appeared behind him, wanting to devour Lin Hao, but its attempt became futile after he activated his skill, Steel Scale Armor. All the sea creatures ran away in fear. Lin Hao was assigned 2 quests. The first one was a normal quest that required him to devour 100 black shell shrimps. The reward for completing this quest would be enhanced night vision skill. The second quest was a difficult one that required him to devour a mutated creature. If he succeeded in completing this quest, he would receive a random new skill as a reward. Lin Hao was surprised after seeing the quest and asked what the end of all this was. The mermaid informed him that the real prize for finishing these quests is a lot more than mere skills. He asked if it meant he could become a human in the future. She answered that anything was possible, after hearing that Lin Hao started to rush towards the deep water, stating that his first priority should be to get back the keepsake. The mermaid tried to stop him, but he told her to stay away from this. While hiding behind the seagrass, he spotted the pocket watch. It was the perfect time for him to grab it because all the big fish were not around it anymore. He got close to the pocket watch. Determined to get it, he noticed something. He was in the territory of a giant mutant monster. The feeling he got after seeing it was the same as the monster he had seen back in the ancient city of Lintian. Sometimes later, the mermaid pulled Lin Hao out of the deep water. Lin Hao became sad about his powerless self, who couldn't even retrieve a pocket watch. He remembered the past when they lived together. Xiao Shui asked Lin Hao if she could eat some noodles because she was feeling hungry. He prepared the noodles and called out to her, but she was gone. Back to reality, the mermaid asked Lin Hao what he was thinking so deeply. Lin Hao dismissed her question, saying it was nothing. She told him that if there is something he wants, he needs to work hard to devour and evolve. Lin Hao agreed to her statement. Later, he spotted some conches. He was surprised by the size of it. He tried to eat it, but was unable to because of the hardness. He spit out the conch and became frustrated with not being able to eat. He remembered the time when he encountered the giant mutant monster and thought that it would take him a lot of time to evolve by simply eating small fish. The scene switched to a place near the ocean. A vehicle stopped. Xiao Shui was sitting inside it. The person next to her informed her that they had arrived. The corpse of a giant dragon was placed in a sealed area, and he was shocked to see the sight of it. Xiao Shui came out of the vehicle and ordered everyone to start evacuating. She warned everyone that the dragon's corpse could explode. There have been cases of whale corpses exploding due to excessive accumulation of putrid gas during the decomposition process. Xiao Shui put on medical gloves and a mask and picked a scalpel. She ordered her subordinate to prepare the ventilation pipes. She made a large cut in the skin and put the pipe inside. The pipes were connected. She received a warning from the intercom that they detected an error in the reading and to get away from the corpse. After listening to the warning, she hurriedly ran with her assistant. The dragon's corpse exploded. The scene switches to Lin Hao's side of things. He was enjoying some black shell shrimps. According to him, they were nice and crunchy and gave more evolution points than small fishes. He received 3 evolution points from 3 black scale shrimps. He also obtained the achievement of Black Shell Shrimp Hunter and received a normal treasure chest as a reward. The mermaid informed him that he had eaten over 200 shrimps. The message window asked if he wanted to open the chest. He answered yes, and a chest appeared in the mermaid's hand. When it opened, a ray of light came out of it, engulfing Lin Hao. His basic ability and skill level increased, and he received Razor Sharp Teeth skill. He activated the skill, and the mermaid enthusiastically asked him to show his skill. Lin Hao questioned her if she couldn't just check herself because she was the system. But she replied that these rewards were all random, so the system could not direct them. The reward was applied, and it made Lin Hao's teeth itch. Annoyed by the itch, he ate a conch and crushed it in a single bite. He asked the mermaid how his teeth looked, but after seeing it she stated that she couldn't comment. He ate nearby small fish and was disgusted by the taste of it. He started to ponder what the mutated monster would taste like. He questioned what counts as a mutated creature. He asked the mermaid if the quests he had been receiving were randomly generated or if they were based on conditions, but she stated that she did not know. Lin Hao stated that if the quest were based on conditions, then there might be a mutated creature nearby. A monster was lurking in the darkness. Lin Hao called out to it, but there was no response. He heard voices coming from the surface. Someone mentioned Boss Peng, stating that the pleco fish shouldn't be released into the wild, but Boss Peng silenced him, saying it was like saying pleco fish weren't real fish. A group of pleco fishes were dropped into the water. Lin Hao asked that what type of demon would release pleco fishes into the wild. Deep in the water, a large snake-like creature emerged. Lin Hao received multiple warnings from the system that there was a high-level danger nearby and to prepare for combat. The snake-like mutant creature rushed towards the group of plecos. Lin Hao contemplated how to get out of this situation inside the pond. Another giant fish was trying to devour the plecos. The two mutant creatures faced off, and the snake-like mutant creature started to devour the mutant fish. Lin Hao saw this as his chance to get away from them, and started to eat the small plecos. It was hard for him to devour them, and they were sticking between his teeth. He got 10 evolution points from eating a single pleco fish. He was amazed by this large amount of points. The snake-like creature killed the giant fish, and its sight shifted toward Lin Hao. Lin Hao, terrified, told himself to calm down. He noticed the wound the snake-like creature received from the giant fish. The mutant eel charged at Lin Hao, but he evaded it and took cover in a narrow crevice between the rocks. The mutant eel swapped its tails and destroyed the rocks to find Lin Hao. He concluded that the mutant eel would lose interest in him because of all the plecos around, but it was not what he had thought. The mutant eel continues to destroy the ground to find Lin Hao. Lin Hao believed that if he stayed hidden and not smashed to death, he still had a chance. When he was just about to be killed by the mutant eel tail, he rushed out. The mutant eel grabbed Lin Hao with its tongue. Lin Hao used his mighty tail swipe skill to get out of the mutant eel's grasp, but failed. The mutant eel moved closer to devour him. On the Xiao Shui side of things, they had managed to escape the blast. A person grabbed her hand and shielded her from the falling flesh. The dragon's corpse was turned to pieces. Xiao Shui thanked the man. She noticed something inside the pile of flesh. It was the eggs of the dragon. She was shocked and told her subordinate to gather weapons to destroy them, and not to let the eggs drop into the ocean. They gathered the weapons and blasted them all to smithereens. The person next to Xiao Shui praised her for her intelligence and shooting skills. On the Lin Hao side, he was eaten by the mutant eel and was inside its belly. The gem on his forehead glowed, and he told himself that he couldn't die in such a place. He wanted to get out of mutant eel's stomach, and remembered that it had a wound in its body. The plecos that it had eaten before was been digested. He activated his skill. Steel scale armor to avoid being digested and started to look for the wound. He notices a light coming from deep inside its stomach. He concluded that the mutant eel must have been healing the wound. He found the wounded spot, activated his skill to harden his scales, and dove into the wound, causing the mutant eel extreme pain. He got out of the eel's body and rushed towards the shallow waters. The mutant eel didn't chase after him and ran away. Lin Hao was relieved because the mutant eel had been injured previously. Otherwise, he would have died inside its stomach. He asked the mermaid about the depth of the pond that could contain such a large creature. He asked if there was an interdimensional portal at the bottom. The mermaid answered that she had no idea, and it was up to him to find out. Lin Hao thought that the mutant eel had already killed all the big fishes, so now he could devour the small plecos. He rushed towards the plecos and started eating. He was happy about the large points he was getting, but he was not thrilled by the taste. The system message appeared, informing him that the condition for evolution had been met, and asked if he wanted to evolve now. Lin Hao answered yes, and his evolution began. After the evolution, the system window appeared, displaying his new status. His body length increased to 70 centimeters, and he had received a new passive skill. Lin Hao and the mermaid checked the skill. The skill's name was Tearing Bite, which increased biting strength. Lin Hao was glad that his body size had increased, but he was still far from that mutant eel. The system gave a new quest to Lin Hao. 2 were normal quests, the first to devour 100 pleco fishes, and the second to devour 100 apple snails. The reward for both of these quests was the hardening of his scales. The third quest rank was difficult, and it stated to devour 1 mutated creature. The reward for this quest was a random skill. Lin Hao prepared himself to eat the pleco fishes. He spotted a group and started to devour. He found a fish that was hollow inside. There were some worm-like creatures inside the shell. It escaped from the shell of the pleco fish and started to enter another fish through its eyes. Lin Hao watched as the fish died. He was baffled by the situation. He guessed that the worm could be eating the fish's brain. Lin Hao asked the mermaid about what the worm was and if it was something he could eat. The mermaid answered that he could try it out himself. Lin Hao tried to eat the fish the worm was invading, but it came out and escaped. Lin Hao became frustrated when the worm-like creature escaped his mouth. He concluded that the worm could not be native to the pond and must be from the deep waters. He thought that it might seem like the shallow water was peaceful, but he was fighting hard for his survival. The mermaid poked at his forehead, asking if he was still thinking about the pocket watch. Lin Hao remembered his goal to quickly level up so he could get the pocket watch back. He rushed towards the plecos and started eating them. The scene shifts to a location on the ocean shore where the police have sealed a boat. A person was lying dead in the bed, and the police were investigating. A person explained to the police that everyone was killed by Loach. The police were reluctant to believe this statement, but the person, while panicking, swore that he was telling the truth, and the Loach bit through Jung's neck and burrowed itself. He explained that he was too scared to react and could not report to the police. The police officer told him that he was talking about many people, but they only found one person's body. He got confused and panicked. He shouted that he had told everyone not to take those things with them. Now the Loach killed them all. The officers tried to calm him down. They decided to contact the Dragon Group because this case seemed to be in their jurisdiction. Xiao Shui arrived at the scene. She noticed that the fish were hollow inside. She asked where they had found the eggs. The person replied that they had found it on the coast by the restricted area. Xiao Shui asked about the missing body, and the police officer replied that they had found a blood trail leading to the nearby river. Xiao Shui contemplated that the dragon corpse they had found could also be infested by the mutated sea loach. She called her team and told them that there was a chance that the mutated cocoon they were looking for flowed into the city zone. She ordered them to start the search immediately. She told the police officer to take her to the river. On Lin Hao's side, he finished eating all the plecos. The mermaid questioned him, saying that there were many things to eat, so why was he just eating the plecos? He replied that the plecos were an invasive species. Lin Hao explained that now he had eaten all the plecos that could threaten the natural wildlife in the shallow water, and the only things that were left were the harmless native species. The system message announced that the evolution condition had been met, and asked if he would like to evolve now. After evolving, he acquired the auspicious dwelling skill, which increased his fortune. The system message appeared, and he received 2 quests. The normal rank quest was to consume 100 plecos, with the reward being an increase in teeth sharpness. The difficult rank quest required defeating 10 mutated creatures to earn a blue chest as a reward. After seeing the same quests again, Lin Hao concluded that the quests were reset daily. There were not many mutated creatures inside the pond, so he was troubled by the increased number of mutated creatures he was required to devour. Lin Hao was puzzled to encounter the loaches who were supposed to live in the sea. He questioned if there was someone smuggling the mutated creatures into the pond, or if they were just mixed up with the plecos. He dismissed these thoughts and continued to increase his level. After a while, he evolved. The status window displayed his new stats. His body size increased to 1.3 meters, and his level rose to 7. His divine power, auspicious dwelling, became level 3, and he received a new skill, camouflage, which changed his body color to the surrounding area. The surrounding fishes became excited because of his divine skill, which can increase the evolution rate of living beings. Lin Hao concluded that this skill only affected the living creatures in his vicinity. Outside the pond, the mother and daughter were looking at the fishes. The mother said that they would come here next time because there was a lockdown going on. Suddenly, the dragon group arrived and surrounded the pond. They evacuated everyone and dropped some devices in the pond. Lin Hao was surprised to see these devices and thought that they may be looking for something. Suddenly, the device glowed red because it detected a mutated creature. Lin Hao also received warnings from the system because he had been discovered. Outside the pond, the dragon group put on underwater equipment and dived in the pond. The system gave multiple warnings to Lin Hao to leave immediately. He contemplated that the deep waters were too dangerous with unknown mutant creatures, but it was better then to just die into the shallow water. Lin Hao moved towards the deep water. There were many mutated creatures, but there was not much danger. The mermaid asked him to venture even deeper into the depths, but Lin Hao refused and stated that as his system, how could she give him bad advice? The mermaid asked Lin Hao if he would eat a fish now that he was in the deep water. After watching the fish being devoured by the loaches, he felt goosebumps. He activated his camouflage skills and got close to the fish. With a big bite, he devoured the fish head. To him, it's as if he was eating grass noodles. The system message appeared announcing the difficult rank mission to be completed and asked if he would like to receive the reward. He stated yes, and a chest appeared. He received the skill, Black Iron Scales. When Lin Hao activated the skill, Black Scaled appeared on his body. Lin Hao stated that with this skill his defense would be increased greatly. While he was checking his reward, a monster was observing him. Lin Hao noticed the monster. It was the mutant snake. The mutant snake rushed towards Lin Hao, but he quickly escaped. He received a warning from the system that the opponent's strength was slightly higher than his. Lin Hao stopped. He stated that if the mutant snake's combat power was only slightly higher than his, he would attempt to fight it. The mutant snake rushed to attack him. Lin Hao activated his Black Iron Scales skill. The mutant snake attempted to bite into Lin Hao, but failed. Lin Hao used his Tail Slam skill, which damaged the mutant snake. The mutant snake tried to devour Lin Hao again, but instead, Lin Hao bit into the mutant snake's skin. The mutant snake tried to strangle Lin Hao, but it was futile. The mutant snake tried to run away, but Lin Hao didn't let it go. He got slammed into the ground during all this struggle. With all his might, he tore apart the area of flesh he was biting. The mutant snake caught Lin Hao with its tongue. He activated his skill scale, strengthening Tail Swing, causing massive damage to the mutant snake. The mutant snake died, and the system announced that he had slain the mutant red dot brocade snake. Lin Hao started to eat the mutant snake, and he received 500 evolution points. He was surprised by the large number of points he received, and the mermaid explained that it was because he challenged a creature beyond his limit, and he also gained something unexpected. Lin Hao inquired about what unexpected gain he received, and bright light started to envelop Lin Hao. He opened his eyes and saw a human hand. This was his hand, and he unexpectedly transformed into his old body.
Lin Hao opens and closes his hand, testing the reality of his transformation. He grasps the mermaid in his excitement, exclaiming that his handsome and charming face has returned. The mermaid gently interrupts his joy, informing him that this change is temporary. Lin Hao's face falls slightly as he looks at his hand, puzzled, and asks what she means by temporary. The mermaid explains that his human form is fleeting and that, at its core, he remains a fish. She tells him that during this time, he can only communicate with her, and others won't hear him. Plus, he has no combat abilities. Looking at himself, Lin Hao sighs and says that at least he looks human again. He then asks if he can go ashore now. The mermaid replies that he can, but warns that if he does, he'll be taken for a weirdo and get caught. Lin Hao cautiously peeks from beneath a broad frog's leaf. This overlooked spot, a place where lost items have accumulated over time, has become his temporary dressing room. After a quick glance around, he hurries to a nearby door and slips inside. There, he quickly changes into his clothes and grabs his precious pocket watch. Pulling a cap over his face for cover, he steps out into the open, feeling the sunlight for the first time in what feels like forever. Though he is grateful to be on land, he is still adjusting. As he walks, a guard stops him, firmly stating that this area is off-limits. The guard's suspicion grows as he questions whether Lin Hao is a tourist and why he is still in a cleared zone. Lin Hao tries to explain, but he is unable to speak. His attention is suddenly drawn to a man on the phone, urgently discussing someone who has forgotten their ID. The mention of Luo Shui, the head of the research team, grabs Lin Hao's attention. He wonders if this Luo Shui is the same person he knows and whether the man recognizes her. Lin Hao tries to reach the man, but the guard shouts for others to hold him back. A guard grabs Lin Hao and tells him to calm down. The man, now curious, asks Lin Hao who he is and why he is in a restricted area. The guard, addressing the man as captain, points out that Lin Hao seems unable to speak. In response, Lin Hao gestures towards his pocket watch and hands it over. The man examines it, recognizing the photograph of Luo Shui and Lin Hao inside. He confirms it belongs to team leader Luo and asks if Lin Hao knows her. Lin Hao nods. The man, grateful on behalf of team leader Luo, advises Lin Hao to hurry home since they are on a mission. At this moment, someone interrupts, asking if the area has been cleared. The man turns to see Luo Shui arriving. The man asks her if she has finished checking the western part of the city. Luo Shui confirms that she has, noting that the water area in the west is smaller. Panic sets in for Lin Hao. He realizes he can't meet her yet. His inability to speak and the ongoing investigation by the dragon team into mutant creatures complicate matters. The man shows Luo Shui the pocket watch, explaining that it was found by the young man, who asked him to return it to her. Luo Shui demands to know who gave it to him, but the man turns around to find no one there. He suggests it was probably just a tourist and reassures Luo Shui that finding her pocket watch is a good thing. Luo Shui, though somewhat reassured, wonders if the person was really Lin Hao and if he is still alive. Hiding behind some bushes, Lin Hao silently apologizes to Luo Shui, promising to explain everything when the time is right. Suddenly, a status window alerts him that his time in human form is ending. With a heavy heart, he reverts to his original form and retreats into the water, his clothes drifting beside him. Reflecting on what has happened, Lin Hao realizes he can no longer live aimlessly. His accidental transformation into a human has shown him that his core abilities are not fixed and that he could evolve further. With renewed determination, he decides to train and evolve properly, hoping to understand the torment he feels and discover what kind of creature he might become. At Longyin Research Center, someone asks if she is really sure about her decision. Luo Shui, looking at her application form, turns to Old Zhang and firmly says she has thought it through. Old Zhang, looking concerned, warns her about the significant risks of injecting high concentrations of the GT virus. He tells her that, as a researcher, she doesn't need to take such a dangerous risk. But Luo Shui remains resolute. She insists on joining the action team, determined to give it a try. Old Zhang, understanding her motivation, assumes it's because of Lin Hao. He reminds her that the world is facing a huge crisis, and now isn't the time for personal feelings. She needs to think about the bigger picture. Luo Shui, however, clarifies that her decision isn't about Lin Hao. She explains that the research team often can't reach crucial locations quickly enough, leading to the loss of important information about mutant creatures. By joining the action team, she believes she could help make important discoveries in their research on these creatures. As Lin Hao drifts through the shallow waters, a thoughtful look crosses his face. The excitement of these familiar shallows has faded, leaving him yearning for something more. He decides it's time to explore the mysterious, deep waters. The mermaid, noticing his determination, approaches him with a hint of worry. She warns him about the dangers of the unknown creatures that inhabit the deeper regions and suggests he reconsider his plan. Lin Hao listens but remains resolute. He acknowledges her warning but insists that he will never know what awaits unless he tries. If he encounters any threats, he tells himself that he can always run away. In the peaceful waters of Hua Long Pond, Lin Hao moves quietly, blending into the surroundings as he keeps himself hidden. The mermaid, gracefully gliding nearby, watches him with a mix of curiosity and amusement. She can't help but wonder why, despite his earlier enthusiasm to explore the depths, he is still lurking in the shadows. Lin Hao, flashing a playful grin, explains that he's practicing a tactical retreat to ensure a safer exploration. As their conversation unfolds, a status window suddenly appears in front of Lin Hao, announcing that he has earned an evolution point and must decide whether to evolve immediately. Without missing a beat, Lin Hao agrees, and in a brilliant transformation, he evolves into an enhanced version of his fish self. He marvels at the change, contemplating whether the world around him has genuinely brightened, or if it's just his imagination. The mermaid, noting his new abilities, informs him that he has gained night vision. His profile updates with a flourish, and the status window congratulates him for reaching level 8. It also presents a new feature, a map, and asks if he wishes to use it. Lin Hao wonders aloud if the map can teleport him to different locations. When he opens it, he is greeted by a detailed view of Longyin City. His eyes trace the map, noting the prominent rivers. The Hanshui River, about 5 kilometers north of the Dragon King Temple, and another river around 8 kilometers away, near the Longyin chemical plant. He questions the usefulness of knowing these locations while still stuck in Hualong Pond. The status window reappears, offering him a 1-hour window for teleportation and asking if he wants to use it. Lin Hao, surprised at the prospect of teleportation, decides to try it out despite his doubts. As the system activates the teleportation, Lin Hao is thrilled to find himself in a new location. He looks around in the water, laughing with excitement as he realizes he has unlocked an entirely new dining table to explore. As he enjoys the taste of the fish, he can't help but smile. The grass carp, with its delicious flavor, is a welcome change from the scavenger fish he used to eat. Each bite is a delight, and as he attacks and devours another fish, a status window appears, showing he has eaten an adult grass carp and gained 90 evolution points. He realizes that these points are far more than what he used to get from scavenger fish, 90 points equal to 3 scavenger fish combined. Reflecting on his old life in Hualongqi, where his meals were limited to apple snails and scavenger fish, he feels a pang of nostalgia and tears up, savoring this fine food and wondering how long it's been since he had such a treat. His attention then shifts to a snake, and he feels a surge of annoyance just at its sight. Next, he notices a catfish and wonders if it could really be 2 meters long. Seeing no warning signs from the system, he thinks that this giant fish might be of similar or lesser strength compared to him. Determined, he decides to take on this creature, hoping that devouring it will earn him a substantial number of evolution points and maybe even a level up. He charges at the catfish but finds it surprisingly slippery. When the fish kicks him away, he notes that the impact is not painful, suggesting the fish's combat power is not very high. Lin Hao activates his fire scales and delivers a strong kick to the catfish. Although the fish tries to fight back, he kicks it again, laughing as he feels he has the upper hand. As the catfish tries to flee, he mocks it, questioning if it thinks it can escape. Suddenly, a status window appears, announcing that the teleportation time limit has expired and he will return to Hualongqi in 3 seconds. With the countdown kicking in, a sense of familiarity and dread creeps over him as he realizes that this feeling is reminiscent of the disaster he experienced before. The realization hits him hard. Longyin City is in danger. Lin Hao shouts to wait a minute, as he teleports back to Hualongqi, feeling a sense of unease as he wonders why that disgusting thing feels so familiar. The mermaid appears beside him, suggesting he can go back and examine the situation more carefully. Confused, Lin Hao asks how he can return. The mermaid gives him 2 options. He can wait at the dragon pool until the teleportation device is ready the next day, hoping for a lucky break, or he can set out on foot immediately. She warns him that if he chooses to walk, he might revert to a small koi fish when he reaches the cold water river, which is 5 kilometers away. In that case, he would have to stay there until he could regain his original form. With no time to waste, Lin Hao decides to act quickly and investigate the matter right away, driven by urgency and determination. Under the vast expanse of the night sky, the man turns to Luo Shui, his voice revealing that he knows she has submitted her application. He asks when she's planning to leave. Luo Shui, with a hint of finality in her tone, explains that she's nearly finished with her handover and will be departing tomorrow. Lin Hao, lurking in the water, wonders where she might be headed. The man reflects on his early realization that Luo Shui would never be content with merely dissecting mutated creatures in the lab since old Zhang introduced her to the dragon team. Luo Shui shares her excitement about joining a national research unit, recalling her first encounter with the Hua Xia dragon team, and the profound sense of purpose it instilled in her. However, as she delves deeper into the team's secrets, maintaining her initial enthusiasm grows increasingly challenging. The man, lighting a cigarette, acknowledges that while mutated creatures indeed pose a significant threat, the GT virus they carry has its uses. Luo Shui confirms that, while team members receive small doses of the GT virus to boost their strength and combat skills, achieving higher levels requires much larger doses. Placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder, the man calls her a true warrior, expressing hope for her safe return before walking away. Luo Shui watches him go, her thoughts drifting to Lin Hao. She promises herself that she will return safely, knowing someone is waiting for her. Lin Hao, having overheard this exchange, swims away and soon emerges from behind the bushes in his human form. He reflects on how Luo Shui joined the dragon team to secretly study mutated creatures, and is now facing a dangerous mission. He examines his hand, wondering if the GT virus is inside him too. The mermaid suddenly appears, reminding him that his human form lasts only 40 minutes and urging him to hurry. Feeling the pressure, Lin Hao runs to the river, his breath heavy and labored. It feels like a distant memory that he has run so fast, almost from a past life. The mermaid's comment about it being past life only deepens his sense of absurdity. He leaps into the water, returning to his fish form, and immediately feels more comfortable. As he devours fishes, his evolution points soar. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet, but the absence of other fish suggests a formidable predator nearby. Without warning, a massive fish, with its mouth wide open, lunges at him. Lin Hao narrowly avoids the attack and realizes something is off. The fish radiates a strange, malevolent energy, unlike its usual behavior. Understanding the danger, he prepares for a quick and decisive fight. As both rush towards each other, Lin Hao strikes with a powerful tail slap and seizes the opportunity to bite down hard. He continues his assault as the fish's slime starts to dry, signaling his progress. With a final, forceful tear, he exposes the fish's flesh, eliciting a pained cry from the creature. Lin Hao savors the fish, remarking on its delicious taste. He notes that it's perfectly cooked, though the slime made the process trickier. Puzzled, he reflects on how the fish was calm moments ago but then suddenly turned combative. As he wonders aloud about the number of evolution points he'll receive, the mermaid, delighted by the flavor, resolves to always cook her meals from now on. Lin Hao, enjoying the meat that tastes surprisingly like chicken, finishes his meal and sits before the fish bones. Suddenly, a status window appears, announcing that by devouring the mutated catfish, he has earned 3,000 evolution points. Astonished by the high number, he exclaims in surprise and watches as the status window displays his upgraded profile. With a sense of accomplishment, he notes that another task has been completed. His attention is then drawn to voices nearby, urging haste. Someone mentions there are many fish here, suggesting they use electrofishing to catch them all. Lin Hao, appalled by the method, considers it a despicable way to eradicate fish. He hears one man addressing another as Old Xiao, urging him to hurry because of a big fish sighting. Suddenly, a giant fish bursts from the water, causing the men to scatter in fear, calling for their mothers. Lin Hao grins at their swift retreat, finding amusement in their panic. The mermaid reappears, warning him that the dragon team will definitely target him now. Lin Hao, realizing the gravity of the situation, panics, chastising himself for forgetting such a crucial detail. Inside the police station, a fisherman nervously recounts his incredible tale. He tries to explain how, while standing by the river, a fish bigger than himself jumped out of the icy water. The police officers, struggling to keep straight faces, jotted down his story. One officer, barely hiding his laugh, asks the man to continue, while another skeptically questions if he is certain about what he saw and if they had been drinking that night. The fisherman, looking earnest, insists they were out fishing and stayed sober all night, firmly denying any drinking. His companions vigorously nod in agreement, backing his claim. The mood shifts when one officer points out that fishing in the Coldwater River is illegal during the closed season. A heavy silence falls, and the fishermen exchange guilty glances. Suddenly, one mumbles an excuse about needing to take care of something. Another suggests they might have been mistaken about the whole thing, and the third hastily apologizes for causing trouble before they all rush out. As the trio hurriedly leaves, one officer sighs, lamenting the growing number of fishermen ignoring the rules. His colleague, however, looks thoughtful, pondering the possibility of a fish larger than a person in those cold waters. He recalls a secret document they received recently, hinting at something unusual. With a tone of cautious resolve, he suggests they report the incident, preferring to be safe rather than sorry in these uncertain times. Lin Hao wanders through the moonlit waters with the mermaid, frustration clear in his voice, as he notes they've searched all night without finding the elusive monster. Yet the scent still lingers, teasing them. The mermaid acknowledges his persistence with a hint of admiration. As they continue, Lin Hao's thoughts shift to his profile, remembering the promise of a task reward. He examines the glowing panel before him, impressed by how quickly he can level up through these challenges. Suddenly, a status window appears, announcing the completion of 2 tasks, devouring 100 grass carps and 100 crucian carps. Lin Hao recalls the earlier feast, remembering how he had apologized to the fish for their unfortunate demise, even though they tasted good. Another status window appears, asking if he wants to evolve now that the conditions have been met. Without hesitation, Lin Hao agrees. Once the transformation is complete, the mermaid praises his top-tier talent, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. She then presents a box and suggests that they open it. The Du and Lin Hao's skills improve, and a new ability, Sharp Horn, is added to his arsenal. Curious, he wonders about this new skill. The status window asks if he wants to use it immediately, and he agrees without a second thought. An itch spreads across his forehead, making him wonder if he's growing another brain. Suddenly, a yellow horn sprouts, and he marvels at the strange yet powerful addition to his skills. He chuckles at the oddity of a dignified koi sporting a horn, but quickly realizes its potential. With a speed boost, this sharp horn could create a strong impact. Determined to test his new ability, he decides to head to the cold river the next day, eager to unleash the power of his remarkable transformation. In the conference room, tension fills the air as the team discusses their next move. A man, resolute and focused, explains that they have successfully secured the location where their target is hiding. He assures his colleagues that their next step will be to surround the area, ensuring the target cannot escape. The man on the screen echoes the urgency, expressing concern about the potential disaster awaiting Longyin City. With its large population, an attack on civilians could lead to catastrophic consequences. The first man reassures everyone that the Dragon team will do everything in their power to eliminate the threat. The man on the screen expresses his gratitude and reveals an alarming discovery, and a picture of a catfish skeleton, previously consumed by Lin Hao, appears. The man explains that this skeleton was recently found in the Coldwater River. He mentions that it's notably different from ordinary fish skeletons, with thick bones and large, sharp teeth. Luo Shui, studying the image, identifies it as the remains of a mutated creature. Another team member points out that while the Coldwater River is home to many grass carps and mutated carps, the skeleton does not match those. Another colleague suggests it looks like a catfish, but another questions if it could be a different mutated creature. Luo Shui examines the skeleton further and concludes that it's likely a fish evolved by the GT virus. She believes another mutated creature in the Coldwater River must have eaten this catfish. The room buzzes with concern as one man reacts to the possibility of another mutated creature, noting that to consume such a large catfish, it must be quite big. Questions arise about whether mutated creatures are gathering in Longyin City. Luo Shui anticipates that more mutated creatures will appear as a result of the virus. The man then reports that the police saw a koi fish larger than a person in the Coldwater River the previous night. The team's next goal is clear: find and eliminate this newly discovered mutated creature. In the icy river, Lin Hao sees an old boar drinking from the cold water. He grips his sharp, pointed horn tightly, convinced that a single precise strike could end the beast's life. The boar lifts its head and meets his determined gaze. Without hesitation, Lin Hao leaps forward, driving his horn into the animal's head with a fierce shout of death. As the creature's blood spreads around it, Lin Hao revels in the excitement of the kill. However, his horn gets stuck in the boar, leading him to express his frustration. He wrestles with the horn, pondering the advantages of having additional limbs. Despite his irritation, he is relieved that his assumption about killing the animal with one blow was correct. The mermaid, perched on a nearby tree branch, watches the scene unfold and asks if he can turn into a human. Lin Hao explains that he means limbs in his battle form and shifts into his human shape. Observing his new form, he feels its weakness. The mermaid reminisces about his past complaints about being a fish, recalling how he used to cry and protest. Lin Hao then carries the boar's body on his shoulder and jumps back into the river. He acknowledges the mermaid's point, admitting that he has adapted more to being a fish but insisting on focusing on the task at hand. As he tries to bite into the animal's fur, he finds it unpleasant. After removing the fur, he enjoys the meat, noting that this method of preparation is much better. Tasting the flesh, he comments on its chewy texture and discovers through the status window that eating the wild boar has earned him 350 evolution points. Though this amount isn't very high, about the same as 4 adult grass carps, he is surprised to be eating wild boar now, thanks to his horn. Smiling, he looks forward to returning the next day and leveling up at this rate. The status window informs him that the teleportation time limit is up and he will soon return to the dragon pool. As he reappears at the pool, he notices a giant crab and wonders if deep water creatures ever come into shallower water. He shouts at the crab, claiming the shallow water as his domain and challenging the crab's presence here. Lin Hao peers at the fish gliding near the water's surface, his thoughts wandering as he wonders if the tourists have returned and if the lockdown is finally over. Curious, he slips into the shadows, overhearing a conversation nearby. One man, speaking in a low, urgent tone, asks his companions if they heard about the explosion in the Eastern District last night. Another man confirms, adding that a monster supposedly appeared. The third man, nervous, tells them not to scare him like that. But the first insists, saying he wouldn't lie about something this serious, and even the police were involved. As Lin Hao listens, unease grows within him. A monster, he thinks, wondering if it could be the one spotted in the cold water river. He swims back to the mermaid, and with concern, he tells her about the mutated creatures they've encountered so far, each one aquatic. He then asks her if there could be land-based ones as well. The mermaid responds calmly, saying that all creatures infected by the GT virus mutate. Her words make Lin Hao uneasy, and he asks if that means he could mutate too. She reassures him, reminding him that he's different. He has her by his side. Shifting the conversation, Lin Hao mentions the dragon team, speculating that they must be out hunting the creature now. He wonders aloud if they might kill it, and if so, maybe he could even eat it. A wild thought crosses his mind, imagining himself transforming into a giant shark, and he laughs to himself. But the mermaid pulls him back to reality, telling him to focus. It's time to work. Lin Hao groans, complaining that it feels like a job, even though there's no boss anymore, and he misses the old days. Just then, a status window appears in front of him, congratulating him on leveling up and informing him that a new teleportation area has been unlocked, with the time limit extended by 30 minutes. Lin Hao glances at the map, noticing the river outside Longyin chemical plant. It looks expansive, and with the extra 30 minutes, he could consume more creatures. Excitement builds as he compares it to unlocking new maps in a game, where rewards and challenges are constantly changing. As his mind races, he wonders if he could evolve a horn and maybe even limbs too. When Lin Hao teleports to the new location, the first thing he notices is the slimy, unpleasant feeling of the water against his skin. The foul sensation makes him cringe, and he can't help but mutter in disgust at the awful quality of the water. Before he has time to fully process his discomfort, he overhears a conversation nearby. Someone mentions that the dragon team is already on the hunt for an ET creature. They're planning to move tonight, hoping to capture it before the dragon team does. Lin Hao's mind races as he tries to understand what he's hearing. He wonders whether these people are part of the dragon team, but it quickly becomes clear that they're rivals, not allies. The dragon team is supposed to be a top-secret national group that deals with mutated creatures, unidentified extraterrestrial life. But now, Lin Hao is left wondering if there are other groups involved, shadowy organizations operating alongside the dragon team. As he moves closer, he sees the group more clearly. They're wearing hooded shirts, keeping their faces hidden. On their shoulders, they carry heavy boxes, and Lin Hao can't help but wonder what's inside. Weapons, maybe. One of the men takes a drag from his cigarette before saying that the ET creature must be trying to awaken an ancient being hidden in Longyin City. Another man, also smoking, agrees, saying there must be relics of an ancient civilization buried there too. Lin Hao's heart races as he tries to piece together what they're talking about. The thought of an ancient creature in Longyin City sends a chill through him. One of the men laughs, greedily imagining the power they could gain from finding the civilization's relics and the advanced technology supposedly hidden within. He's convinced that when the global disaster comes, they'll be the strongest survivors. The other man, more cautious, warns him to keep his voice down. But the first man brushes off the concern by saying that who would be out here in such a desolate place? With a wave of his hand, he dismisses any worries about being overheard, saying that if they do run into anyone, they'll just kill them. This confirms Lin Hao's suspicions. These men are definitely up to no good. But he wonders how they can move around Longyin City with so many weapons without drawing attention. Suddenly, one of the men receives a message through his Bluetooth earpiece. He then tells his companion to get ready to move, as the dragon team has already narrowed down the search area. The other man, concerned, asks why the dragon team has sent so many people this time and wonders whether the ET creature is that important. The first man just laughs, dismissing the dragon team as amateurs. His companion, who calls him Brother Kuin, nods in agreement and mentions something about a number 3 suit. Lin Hao is curious, what is this number 3 suit? He tries to think about whether it is some kind of advanced gear. But his thoughts are interrupted when Brother Kuin notices something on his device. He tells his companion that there's something nearby, and they might be in danger if they're discovered. Suddenly, the men spot movement in the water. Lin Hao dives beneath the surface, trying to stay hidden. He wonders if Brother Kuin's watch is a mutated creature detector, much more convenient than the dragon team's bulky equipment. The other man asks if there are any mutated creatures nearby, and Brother Kuin, uncertain, replies that he's not sure, but the detector picked up strong life signals, so there's a high chance. Without hesitation, Brother Kuin grabs a weapon from the box, a strange object with a black-purple glow. He throws it into the water, and Lin Hao feels an intense pressure surrounding him. He wonders about what kind of weapon he just used, struggling to understand its power. But there's no time to think, he needs to escape, but Brother Kuin spots him. Lin Hao dives back into the water, his heart racing as he tries to get away. The two men don't hesitate. They chase after him, driven by a fierce determination. If this creature is as large as it seems, then it must have the GT virus in its body, and they're not about to let it get away. The two men dash after Lin Hao, who glances back just in time to see them closing in. One of the men remarks, almost with a touch of surprise, that the creature seems to have the ability to flee, pondering aloud whether it might possess some level of intelligence. As Lin Hao runs, he can't help but notice that the man is managing to keep pace, even while lugging a large, heavy black box. The realization strikes Lin Hao that this is no ordinary pursuer. His thoughts race as he senses the man drawing nearer, and with a quick decision, Lin Hao unleashes his formidable tail slap. The force of the strike sends a tremendous splash surging through the water as the surface explodes in a powerful wave. Lin Hao arrives at a quiet corner where tall grasses sway gently, offering a moment of respite. He exhales slowly, feeling the tension in his muscles ease. The pursuit has been intense, but he knows it's time to stop running, as they shouldn't be chasing anymore. As he glides through the murky water, a hint of doubt flickers in his mind. Perhaps he's overthinking this. But he quickly reassures himself that, even if they catch up to him, his ability to teleport will ensure his escape. The thought brings a sense of calm as he dives deeper into the river, wondering who those mysterious figures might be. They don't seem like they're part of Lu Shui's official organization, and there's something about them that feels off, as if they're not people to be trusted. However, he pushes the thoughts aside, reminding himself that he has a more important task to focus on. Whatever, he murmurs, realizing that time is running out. He spots some tilapia swimming nearby and decides to eat, knowing he needs to regain his strength. As he consumes the fish, he feels a surge of energy, and a status window appears, confirming that he's gained 50 evolution points for each adult tilapia he devours. His profile screen flashes, but there are only minor changes in his size and combat power. He's slightly disappointed by the lack of significant improvements, but he continues eating, noting how filthy the river is. Despite its dirtiness, the creatures in the river provide him with valuable evolution points, which makes it worth the unpleasantness. Next to him, the mermaid crinkles her nose in disgust, complaining about the foul smell. His eyes scan the task status window, his gaze narrowing as he takes in the list of challenges before him. Among them, there's an ordinary task requiring him to devour 100 janitors, with the reward promising sharper teeth. Another task demands the consumption of 200 crawfish, offering enhanced horn sharpness in return. A third task calls for the devouring of 10 eels, with the promise of a white treasure box as a reward. But it's the difficult task that catches his attention, devouring 10 mutated creatures, with a blue treasure box waiting at the end. He mutters to himself about the 4 tasks, noting the difficulty of the last one. He wonders aloud where he could possibly find so many mutated creatures, deciding then and there to set it aside. His focus shifts to leveling up, and with a weary sigh, he resolves to head back and rest first. Just as he turns away, a warning status window appears before him, flashing a message that the teleportation time available is limited to 2 hours. He nods in understanding, expecting this increase in time as he levels up. A grin spreads across his face as he realizes he's finally made it out of the beginner's area. The thought of this victory lightens his mood, and he chuckles to himself, pleased that there's no rush to return. He decides he'll stay a bit longer to feast, but his thoughts are interrupted as he notices a sudden disturbance among the nearby fish. His senses sharpen, and his eyes narrow in suspicion as he notices that something isn't right. A strange presence tingles at the edge of his awareness, and he demands to know who's there. His voice rings out in the water, but the only response is a shadow speeding towards him. His heart races as he squints into the gloom, trying to make out the shape. His mind whirls with possibilities. Is it another mutated creature? Or could it be a person? As the figure draws nearer, the water clears enough for him to see that it is indeed a person, armored and with a sword at his ready. His eyes widen in recognition as he realizes it's that man from before. Without warning, the man lunges, his sword flashing towards Lin Hao. Cursing under his breath, Lin Hao realizes that they've caught up to him after all. He narrowly dodges the strike, but the man sneers, claiming that Lin Hao can't evade his blade. The next strike lands, and Lin Hao is hurled backward, pain flaring through his body as his scales are damaged. Groaning, he pulls himself to his feet, marveling at the speed of the man's blade. His enemy's voice drips with disdain as he observes Lin Hao still standing, not dead yet. Suddenly, a sharp light coming from Lin Hao catches the man's attention, and he wonders what it could be. The light seems to pulse from within him, and the man's eyes widen as he realizes Lin Hao isn't about to give up. With a roar, Lin Hao, now emitting a radiant glow, hurls himself at his attacker, his anger boiling over. He dares the man to strike him with that sword again. Their battle intensifies, with Lin Hao's horn crashing into the man's armor, shattering the protection over his eyes. Recognition dawns on Lin Hao, it really is the man from before. Seizing the moment, he charges again, his horn aimed with deadly precision. But something about the man's armor puzzles him as he tries to comprehend how it could grant a human such formidable strength underwater. The man is also not done yet. Dark energy crackles around his sword as he hisses out a warning to Lin Hao, claiming he's looking for death. The sword slashes through the water, but Lin Hao is quick, dodging the strike and sinking his teeth into the man's armored hand. To his frustration, the armor resists his bite entirely. He wonders what kind of material it's made of, as even his sharp teeth can't pierce it. The man's frustration mirrors Lin Hao's as he swings his sword again, shouting that this beast is courting death. With a powerful blow, he throws Lin Hao away. Lin Hao grits his teeth and vows to himself that he'll make the man pay, but just as he's about to launch another attack, a bright light appears, and the status window pops up, announcing that today's teleportation time limit has been reached. Lin Hao reflects on the close call. The blade that had been used against him was frighteningly sharp. One more cut and his scales might have given way. As he describes the weapon's unusual sharpness, the mermaid listens carefully, noting that it seems far from an ordinary sword. Lin Hao is struck by the thought that the armor he had seen, labeled as Suit Number 3, might be evidence of advanced technology. He wonders that it seems that technology has progressed so much that such sophisticated armor is now available. His thoughts turn to the mention of ancient ruins by the men, and he begins to piece together a troubling idea. Remnants of lost civilizations might be scattered across Earth, and the armor and sword could be relics from these ancient times. The possibility emerges: mutated creatures, ancient ruins, the GT virus, and ET might all be connected. He imagines a scenario where civilizations, as they arrived on Earth, left behind unique ruins. These ruins could be the source of the virus that causes living beings to evolve. The ET beings, who originally created these ruins, might have a plan to awaken their ancestors' mutated creatures by reopening these ancient sites. Feeling a sense of foreboding, he realizes that their world might soon face significant upheaval. Determined to be ready for whatever comes next, Lin Hao resolves to evolve and become stronger as quickly as possible. The mermaid lets out a contented yawn, and at that very moment, a status window flashes before Lin Hao's eyes, announcing his achievement of reaching level 15. With a flourish, it reveals a blue treasure chest he has earned for his efforts. As his profile appears on the screen, he gazes intently at his skills. His attention narrows to one particular skill that now stands out. The status window highlights the enhancement of his night combat ability, noting that it has granted him improved night vision and an overall strength boost of 10%. A smile of satisfaction spreads across his face as he absorbs the news. While he acknowledges that the increase may seem modest at the moment, he recognizes that as he continues to grow stronger, this upgrade will become increasingly significant. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink and bathing the riverbank in a warm, golden light, two men sat quietly at the corner. One of them, speaking with concern, turned to his companion and addressed him as Big Brother, asking where the elusive mutated creature had disappeared to. The elder man inspects the headpiece of his armor with a worried expression, admitting that he has no idea where the creature has gone, as it seems to have vanished into thin air. The younger man wonders aloud if the beast might have the ability to teleport, his voice laced with curiosity. The elder man, looking skeptical, questions whether such a possibility is realistic. Their conversation shifts to the state of the elder's armor. With frustration and regret, the elder curses, lamenting the effort he put into acquiring the armor, only to have it damaged by the creature's bite. He then gets up, sensing the need to move on, and reminds his younger companion of their urgent tasks. As they prepare to leave, the elder pauses, his mind returning to Lin Hao's eyes reflected in the water during their fight. A sense of unease creeps over him as he recalls the unusual intelligence he sensed in the creature. Realizing the potential danger, he decides he needs to report this to the organization to keep it out of the rival dragon group's hands. In a lively group chat, a curious voice inquires if anyone has heard about the recent blockade of the Eastern Division. They describe an unsettling sight. Numerous figures clad in black uniforms had been spotted, giving the area an ominous feel. The conversation quickly shifts as another participant adds a chilling detail they've heard, that the place is rumored to be haunted. This revelation stirs concern, prompting someone to question the validity of the claim and plead not to be frightened. Another voice wonders aloud if the rumors of hauntings could mean a police presence is imminent, speculating about a serial murderer in the mix. Amidst the mounting anxiety, someone else notes the heavy traffic in the Eastern Division, suggesting that the restrictions must be significant to warrant such an uproar. By the Hualong River, Lin Hao stretches and yawns, savoring the remnants of a refreshing sleep. His gaze shifts to the mermaid beside him, who watches with an air of curious detachment. The status window appears before him, revealing a set of newly refreshed tasks. The first task, a common one, is to devour 100 scavengers, promising sharper teeth as a reward. Next, another common challenge requires consuming 100 black shell shrimp for an increase in speed. There's also a task to devour 10 eels, which will yield a white treasure chest. Finally, a more daunting task is to devour 10 mutated creatures, with a blue treasure chest as the reward. Lin Hao examines the tasks thoughtfully, noting that the system refreshes them automatically each morning, regardless of completion. Just then, another status window pops up, announcing an upgrade to the map. His eyes light up as he notes the arrival of the new map, and his curiosity peaks. A peculiar sensation tugs at him, an unsettling feeling that something significant is unfolding. Driven by his intuition, he moves swiftly in the direction of the disturbance, feeling a compelling need to uncover the source. As he peers through the clear water, he spots distant flames flickering on the mountainside. With a swift transition, he emerges from the water in his human form, hastily attempting to cover his nakedness and conceal himself. The mermaid, watching his clumsy efforts, sighs in frustration, wondering what to do with him. On Dragon Mountain, tension fills the air as a man shouts urgent orders to his team. His voice is commanding, telling them to hurry and block all possible exits because the target is highly dangerous. He warns them to be ready to shoot and kill once the target is spotted. Meanwhile, a car speeds along the twisting mountain road. Luo Shui is driving, her focus sharp as she talks through the Bluetooth. She informs her contact that she's on her way to Dragon Mountain. The voice on the other end stresses the importance of the mission, telling her to surround the mountain and ensure the target doesn't escape. Luo Shui acknowledges the gravity of the situation. She reports that the EL organization's members are present at the site, prompting the one on the Bluetooth to dismiss them as crazy. The elder man from earlier, now using a sniper rifle, ponders the madness of those who would join such a group, injecting themselves with the GT virus to enhance their abilities. Luo Shui, now outside her car with her gun ready, instructs her team to focus on the EL members since the ET is injured and less effective in combat. She emphasizes the need to prevent the EL agents from interfering. The sniper, aiming at a cloaked figure holding a bomb, fires at him, and Lu Shui mutters about the lunacy of them and fears they might intend to blow up the entire mountain. She then notices a helicopter above and tells her team to activate their armor protection and spread out. Suddenly, a massive explosion shakes the mountain, sending shockwaves through the rugged landscape. In the quietness of the forest, Lin Hao and the mermaid walk cautiously, the thick trees around them adding to the sense of mystery. Lin Hao can't help but wonder how the mermaid knows the way in a place so well guarded. She casually explains that her skills as a hacker make navigating these hidden paths second nature to her. Then, with a curious look, she asks why he suddenly decided to come here. Lin Hao reflects on the explosion that had occurred earlier. In that moment, he felt a strange, powerful force that he couldn't ignore. As they walk, he places his hand on a tree, feeling a connection with the forest. He tells the mermaid that something in this place resonates with him, as if it's calling out to him. The mermaid, surprised by his words, can't help but exclaim in astonishment. Suddenly, voices echo through the trees, their words filled with frustration. One voice curses, complaining that they can't contact their organization because the dragon team has cut off their communication. Another voice, more focused, brushes off the complaint, pointing out that their commander has already been blown away, and their priority now is to find the injured ET. Lin Hao listens closely, realizing that both sides are after the same target. The voices sound familiar, like old friends, and he senses that if he follows them, they will lead him straight to the ET. As he listens, one of the men curses a monstrous fish that had torn through his armor, leaving him in this mess. The other man agrees, noting how dangerous the creature is and even managing to bite through their number 3 suit. Their voices fade as they rush off, one urging the other to stop complaining and focus on finding the ET, hinting that capturing it could earn them a brand new set of armor. They speed up, dark energy swirling around one of them as they move with incredible speed. Lin Hao watches from behind the bushes, amazed by their swiftness, realizing that if they were on open ground, he wouldn't stand a chance against them. He starts to move again, but a sound stops him in his tracks. He turns, scanning the area, and follows the noise until he finds Luo Shui. She is in the midst of a battle, firing her weapon with precision to kill a monster. The sight of the creature's twisted, ugly form fills Lin Hao with disgust. But before he can dwell on it, the mermaid taps him on the head, scolding him for worrying about aesthetics at a time like this. Her words bring him back to the seriousness of the situation, and she urges him to stay focused. Nearby, Luo Shui speaks calmly into her Bluetooth, informing someone that she has found the ET and is sending its location. As she does, another figure appears, a man who steps forward, laughing coldly. He recognizes Luo Shui and addresses her mockingly as the famous Captain Luo, pointing his sword at her with a twisted smile. He taunts her, saying it's a shame it has to end this way, before charging at her with a shout, ready to strike her down. But Lin Hao storms into the scene and grabs the man's hand firmly, and a strange, bright light appears between them. With a fierce look, he demands to know who the man thinks he can kill. Realizing time is running short, he knows he must act quickly. With a decisive push, Lin Hao drives the man's own sword into his chest. As the sword goes through the man's torso and emerges from his back, the man, gasping in shock, recognizes Lin Hao. With a grim chuckle, he remarks that Lin Hao is no different from him. He then pulls the blade out and throws it towards Luo Shui. She narrowly avoids it, her mind racing to confirm if it was really Lin Hao. Lin Hao's fist glows with a powerful blue light, and he lands a crushing punch to the man's chest, enveloping them both in a strange blue aura. Luo Shui tries to see through the blinding light, calling out for Lin Hao in desperation. When the light fades, she finds Lin Hao gone, leaving only the man's lifeless body on the ground. Confused, she looks at the water, trying to convince herself that she has indeed seen Lin Hao. Underwater, Lin Hao, now in fish form, peeks out and apologizes, saying it's not the right time for them to be together because they both have their own missions. The teary-eyed mermaid reflects on the bittersweet separation of the couple. Embarrassed, he dismisses her dramatic comments, explaining that he felt different when he was in human form. The mermaid explains that while his human form lacks extra boosts, the combat skills and mindset from his koi form are still with him. Meanwhile, Luo Shui urgently instructs her team through Bluetooth to be on high alert, as the injured ET has gone missing amid the confusion. She orders them to spread out and search for the coordinates she sent. The mermaid, curious, asks Lin Hao where the ET might have gone. He guesses that the ET is trying to find the spaceship to escape. He then starts complimenting the mermaid, calling her the best and most beautiful system, and asks for her help in locating the spaceship. The mermaid, annoyed, pushes him away and questions how she could find it. He insists she can help avoid detection and should be able to sense electronic signals. He encourages her to try and connect with them. The mermaid, skeptical but willing, senses something and reports that the spaceship is on the mountaintop. Lin Hao races towards the mountain with the mermaid following, questioning his urgency. He is determined to stop the ET from escaping, fearing that if it returns with information, they could face even greater danger. The ET monster drinks from the river, its eyes catching sight of some tiny fish swimming nearby. Suddenly, it leaps into the water, causing ripples to spread. Lin Hao, swimming close by, is overwhelmed by the strong smell of blood that seems to be coming from just ahead. The status window flashes a warning. This creature is stronger than he is. Lin Hao, spotting the monster, realizes this is a serious threat since its power is greater than his own. Determined to end the fight quickly, he activates his horn and shouts his intent to strike while the monster is still vulnerable. He charges at the creature, aiming to jab it in the face with his horn. He relentlessly tries to pierce the monster's tough skin. In response, the monster pulls out a sword and swings it at Lin Hao. He manages to block the attack with his fin, recognizing the move from previous battles and questioning whether the monster's strength comes more from its gear than from skill. As his horn gets damaged in the clash, he grimaces in pain. The monster, now rising towards the surface, finds itself at a disadvantage. Lin Hao takes the chance to bite off the monster's hand and tears it away, dismissing its toughness and mocking its reliance on the blade. In a final desperate act, the monster channels all its strength into a powerful blow, striking at Lin Hao with fierce determination. The sound of Lin Hao's name cuts through the darkness, a distant voice urging him to wake. Submerged in cold, unforgiving water, Lin Hao struggles to stay conscious. Just as despair threatens to pull him under, a firm grip grabs his hand, pulling him to safety. It's the mermaid, her voice filled with urgency as she demands he wake up. Suddenly, Lin Hao shifts back to his fish form, his eyes opening in confusion. The mermaid surrounds him with a protective barrier, warning him that she can only offer limited help. She urges him that time is running out. If he doesn't act fast, he'll die. Before he can fully understand her warning, a monstrous force breaks through the barrier with a powerful punch, hurling Lin Hao to the ground. Writhing in pain, Lin Hao curses the sharp sting that he hasn't felt in ages. The ET monster roars angrily, questioning how Lin Hao dared to attack it. It swings its fist again with frightening speed, but Lin Hao narrowly escapes, observing the creature's incredible quickness. The monster sneers, calling Lin Hao a mere fish and mocking him. But as Lin Hao's body starts to glow with intense light, the monster's confidence fades into confusion. With renewed determination, Lin Hao transforms, his light growing brighter as he charges at the beast. He attacks with fierce resolve, biting down hard. Despite the pain, he clings to the monster, telling himself that he cannot, no matter what, let go. In a final act of defiance, he bites off the monster's remaining hand, letting out a sigh of relief as the beast finally falls. Exhausted but victorious, Lin Hao stands over the defeated foe. As they race away, a man shouts orders to his team, telling them to search in a certain direction. His threats are harsh. If they fail to find what they're looking for, he'll chop them up and feed them to the dogs. Lin Hao, hidden beneath the river's surface, listens in fear. He wonders where all these people have come from and realizes that if they find him, he's finished. On the riverbank, one man looks into the water and insists that the signal must be nearby. Another man, calling him boss, questions what they should do if the signal is dead. The boss responds coldly, saying that if the signal is dead, they will track down whoever is responsible, skin them, and bury them with the signal. Lin Hao surfaces briefly, cursing to himself. He knows he must stay hidden. He dives back under the water, thinking that desperate times call for desperate measures. Determined to evade capture, he decides to take a risky chance, hoping it will be enough to save him. Lin Hao stares in amazement at his changed body, now a towering, formidable figure. He marvels at his new arms and legs, which have become strong and flexible. Moving around is now much easier, and he feels a remarkable surge of strength, unlike anything he's felt before. In the Dragon Mountains, two men stand watch in front of a large spaceship. One of them instructs the other to stay alert and wait for their boss to arrive with the equipment. The second man nods in agreement. Suddenly, they are struck by something small and sharp, causing one of them to wonder who might be there. From the shadows, Lin Hao emerges, crawling on the ground with his newly transformed body. The mermaid beside him asks why he is still hanging around after getting her evolution points. He replies that he can't let the spaceship fall into the wrong hands. Inside the spaceship, two men are enjoying their music, completely unaware of the danger outside. Their colleague outside suddenly shouts, demanding to know who's there and what's happening. Lin Hao silently appears behind him and drives his claw through the man's body. As the man dies instantly, Lin Hao taunts him, reminding him of the threat he had made earlier. The remaining men inside the spaceship catch a glimpse of the scene and scream in fear, begging him to stay away. But Lin Hao is unstoppable. He swiftly deals with the rest of the crew and enters the spaceship. Feeling the surge of his enhanced abilities, he is thrilled by his newfound strength and the freedom of no longer being confined to the water. Returning to his human form, he kicks the dead body that lies in his path and remarks that laying down is the only way to keep them in check. The spaceship's control system, however, proves confusing, and he curses in frustration as he struggles to make sense of it. The mermaid beside him looks equally baffled. Then, Lin Hao's eyes land on something he had anticipated finding. He grabs it and leaves the spaceship with the mermaid. Outside, he stands still, gazing at the spaceship. The mermaid asks why he isn't leaving, wondering if he's waiting for the dragon team to arrive. He explains that if they take the spaceship, they won't be able to contact the dragon team. The mermaid notes that it's uncertain when the dragon team's drones will arrive. Lin Hao, with a glint of confidence, reveals that he has a plan, and it has to be him who carries it out. As he walks alongside the mermaid, she remarks that she can't believe she ever expected him to come up with a decent idea. Without missing a beat, he responds curtly, telling her that if she doesn't understand the plan, she should keep quiet, insisting there's no better strategy than the one they've devised. Meanwhile, a man stares at the burning wreckage of the spaceship, his voice tinged with disbelief as he asks the captain what kind of mutated creature could have caused such destruction. Luo Shui, with a thoughtful expression, admits it's a good question that requires further investigation. Suddenly, a shout emerges from the nearby bushes. A man urgently informs Captain Zhao that they've discovered a pile of guts, which he speculates could belong to an ET. Captain Zhao, pondering aloud, suggests that if there are guts, something must have consumed them. His mind races with possibilities. Perhaps the creature awakened from the zone was then devoured by something else. Luo Shui's thoughts drifts to Lin Hao diving into the water earlier. After a moment of contemplation, she quietly concludes that it's unlikely. She hypothesizes that the ET came to awaken the mutated creatures, but whatever consumed it is beyond her understanding. Captain Zhao, still processing the situation, notes that the spaceship landed only a short time ago, barely having a chance to unleash its full potential before being destroyed. Luo Shui, trying to steer him away from dangerous thoughts, advises him not to overthink the matter. She suggests that if they can't locate the creature, they should instead focus on retrieving the spaceship, as it could offer invaluable knowledge. After all, this is the first time they've encountered an intact spacecraft. Inwardly, she harbors a fear that delving too deeply into this mystery might lead them to uncover Lin Hao. Captain Zhao, however, remains troubled. He points out that they still haven't found the ET's weapon and sarcastically wonders if the creature consumed that too, dismissing the situation as a ridiculous mess. Lin Hao carefully hides the weapon in the water, his hands steady as he watches it sink beneath the surface. He covers it with rocks, making sure it's well hidden. The mermaid, her voice tinged with both disappointment and acceptance, remarks on how they finally managed to get some gear, only to find they couldn't even use it. Lin Hao, with a shrug, admits that his small arms and legs aren't suited for wielding such a weapon, so hiding it seems like the best option for now. To lighten the mood, he pretends that his evolution from a fish to an amphibian shows he's capable of crossing species. Now, with a basic ability to speak, he guesses that's a small victory worth noting. Turning his attention to the pile of tasks in front of him, he notices some new, more challenging missions besides the ordinary ones. The first task requires him to devour a mutated T-Rex, with a purple treasure box as the reward. The next task involves consuming a level 1 warrior green beast, which promises a major boost to his cardio function. The final task is just as daunting, devouring a level 2 warrior green beast, with the reward being a significant improvement to his vision. Frustration wells up in him, and he vents his anger. Just yesterday, he had barely survived devouring a level 2 warrior, and now he faces tasks that seem more like death sentences than challenges. The mermaid, unruffled by his outburst, suggests that if he can't solve a problem, he should simply skip it. She wonders how such an obvious solution could escape him. He replies that skipping a task feels like leaving an entire page of a test blank, something he finds hard to accept. But the mermaid advises him to focus on what's within reach rather than what seems impossible. Taking her advice, he consults the map and, with a determined look, prepares to teleport. He signals to the mermaid that it's time to go. As they appear in a new place with a sudden flash, the mermaid takes a look at the strange creatures around them. She turns to Lin Hao and, with a hint of curiosity, remarks that he should be rushing to eat all those mutated mudfish. She wonders aloud if he really dislikes them. Lin Hao, remaining calm despite the odd surroundings, assures her there's no need to rush. After all, there's still a whole bucket left, and he plans to eat them all once they're done here. Nearby, a man, who's been busy tossing the last of the fish from a large bucket into the water, turns to his friend with a satisfied nod and suggests they go grab a drink. The other man, smiling, replies that they just said the word, and they won't head home until they've had their fill by the end of the night.
To be continued. If you want to watch the next part, then like and subscribe and let me know in the comment of what recap you want to watch next.